I would say that I think culturally speaking, Africans are entrepreneurial. Our background, even in the agricultural days of the world, is sustenance farming rather than a big farmland with employees. It's more each house owning their own kind of farm and doing trade by barter. So it's more entrepreneurial, it's more small business like. Very few get to be very big.
Right.
So that's culturally where we are coming from in Africa.
All right, this is another episode of the Founders Pack Form Your Own Pack podcast. I have a Y Combinator founder today, which we always love talking to, and I'm going to totally screw up his name, but it's Sanmi Olukanmi. Is that close?
Yeah, you manage.
So bad.
We take it that way.
I'm trying to figure out, because we were talking before about your native language, and the AN is one vowel, right?
It's one vowel. Yeah.
Which is, totally foreign to me. So that's crazy. I appreciate you jumping on. And your company is called Shekel Mobility. So I guess for people that don't know, who is Sanmi and what is Shekel Mobility?
Okay, so I'm the co-founder and CEO of Shekel Mobility. Basically what we do, we're a marketplace for B2B auto dealers, a B2B marketplace for auto dealers in Africa. What we provide them with finance. We help them buy and also sell second-hand vehicles, which are the predominantly used vehicles in Nigeria, in Africa, not just Nigeria. And it's a $30 billion market. So it's a big opportunity. And we've been on this since January last year, 2022, even though we did a pilot in 2021. But the business itself started 2022, January. And since then, we've done over $20 million transaction.
Wow, that's great.
Okay. And our monthly revenue is quite high as well, close to 200K at the moment per month.
And that's all US dollars, or how's that? How do you guys measure that?
US dollars, all in US dollars.
Wow, okay. And what is the currency there, out of curiosity? I don't know.
In Nigeria is Naira.
Naira, okay. All right, so now you applied to and were accepted into Y Combinator. What was the big problem that you were solving that Y Combinator got, that got their attention?
Okay, so probably backtrack. We were not accepted in the first try.
Of course.
In the second try.
That's common. It's tough.
Which was understandable.
Yeah.
Because of the space we are playing in. I guess lending is kind of challenging.
Right.
We understand that as well, especially in a third world country. Like that's kind of really challenging, considering the fact that the majority of the people probably don't have adequate identification. So this would have we've been able to solve it even from day one, but we needed to demonstrate to YC that we've done that. At the time when we first applied, it was very early. So I guess they wanted to see more traction, to see if we were the real deal. And when we reapplied for winter batch 2023, then we were accepted. So I guess the traction, the market size, and the authenticity of the problem we are solving, and considering the fact that we are the only one doing it at the moment, I would guess those were the factors in determining our acceptance into the program.
So as a business that, I guess first of all, it's a marketplace, but really the product it's a fintech in a sense, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a fintech.
And so the idea is that as a used auto dealer, I would present deals to you guys and you would try to either match them, or do you do direct financing? How does that work?
So the way it works is actual car dealer. It finds a deal. We would obviously do our own background check of that particular deal to make sure it's genuine and the valuation is right. Then they contribute equity, and they contribute about 30%. We complete the rest. Then they are able to now get that inventory. So it's more like inventory financing for them.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And they are able to now sell and they pay the charges afterwards. So at the moment, no one, before we came on scene, the banks were not going to do it because of the operational dynamics is beyond their own expertise. We have background in automotive space. So we understand the challenge, and also we were able to kind of collateralize the inventory itself. And that way, we've even since we've done over 3,700 transactions, we don't have any default as of today.
No, really? Wow. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
And you attribute that to the quality of the background check, or is it just the standards? Like what why is it that you're able to have like zero defaults? It sounds like
I think I will probably attribute that to the process itself in terms of onboarding. So it's not just any car dealer can walk up to us. You have to be pre-vetted before you are brought on the platform. Then the valuation of the car itself is very key. And because of that, also the ability of Shekel mobility team to control the asset itself after purchase. So the car is registered in Shekel's name, obviously, when
okay.
purchased. So it's essentially ours. Then also the fact that we have a community of car dealers, which means any car can be auctioned in literal minutes if we have to dispose of the car.
Interesting. So you could, yeah, you could flip the asset basically.
Yeah. So in case of a default or the dealer is unable to sell, we can sell on your behalf.
Very interesting. All right. So like if I so the car dealer does probably a couple things that sounds like one, they're acquiring a vehicle at a certain price from somewhere, not from you.
Mhm.
And then you're saying, let's say, and I don't know what the markup on cars is. If it's a $5,000 acquisition, they would try to sell it for 7 or something.
So the typical margin is between 20 to 30%.
Okay. So yeah, like, all right, that makes sense. So 7 grand, 7,200, so around there. And then, I mean, I'm probably using low numbers. And then what you're saying is they're financing, they're collateralizing part of it, and then
Yeah,
you're financing the balance.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, very interesting. So what's next for you guys?
The reason why we accepted YC, obviously, it brings certain level of exposure to both the business and the team itself. One of the things YC brings to the table is the community. You cannot overstate the importance of that resource. I can literally have access to hundreds of founders that have gone through the program before. If they solve a problem that we are trying to solve, it might not even be the problem the way we view it right now. It could be a portion of the solution as someone else has already solved it. So I can literally reach out to any of the founders that have gone through the program before and say, hey, we have this challenge. Can you help out? Usually the answer is yes, because you're a YC alumni. So that's, I'll probably say, is the most important thing YC brings to the table. That community, beyond the money, that community is key.
Well, that's consistent with what we hear from other founders. Obviously, Founders Pack is kind of, we live and die by that type of community too. So we're trying to recreate that so that entrepreneurs like you have that resource. So that is amazing to hear that you're benefiting from it. What has your YC experience been like so far?
I've just mentioned the first one, which is the
Yeah,
community.
yeah, that's great.
The other ones, so I think I would just more the outcome stem from like the community-based relationships, which is then also YC. The way I see it is like an MBA tailor-made for you specifically. So
Wow.
it's unlike a typical MBA that you generally have to go through the class and start to decipher what is important to you, what's useful to your situation. It's more like YC sits down, listen to your situation, and tailor makes an MBA for you, including the resources that you need to get it done.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's essentially, especially back home in Africa, where you don't necessarily have access to a place like Silicon Valley. YC gives you the access, essentially. That kind of, so it's a no-brainer for any startup, even if you have to do a down round to get into YC.
It certainly seems like, we get a lot of people that we've been increasingly connecting a lot through Twitter.
Mhm.
that there's a real entrepreneurial bent to particularly Nigeria, but not just limited to that, to other African countries. Is that kind of what you're seeing, that it's a young country with a lot of entrepreneurial people?
Yes, I would say that I think culturally speaking, Africans are entrepreneurial. Our background, even in the agricultural days of the world, is sustenance farming, rather than a big farmland with employees. It's more each house owning their own kind of farm and doing trade by barter. So it's more entrepreneurial, it's more small business like. Very few get to be very big.
Right.
So that's culturally where we are coming from in Africa. And so then also the if you had that with the recent reality, in that there are a lot of problems to solve in Africa. And the only way you're doing that is with entrepreneurship.
It's it I don't know. I don't know how many times I can say this, but that's who changes the world, right? Like,
Yep.
we're
Totally.
if you're staring at politicians, if you're staring at bureaucrats, if you're staring at educators or anyone else, you're staring at the wrong person.
Probably need the tax and the entrepreneurs to get it done anyways.
Right. Yeah, they're gonna like do it quicker, faster, and more accurately.
Yeah, the way politicians see it is more, yeah, give us some of your money and let's buy votes. Either by giving
That works great.
free money to those that are not going to make the best use of it, or giving tax credits to those that are probably not going to reinvest it in the
Right.
country. Like the entrepreneurs are the ones that solve real problems.
Agreed.
And it's the stage where Africa is. And to be honest, I think there are lots of problems to solve. Um, in terms of concentration of startups in Lagos, for example, we don't have enough yet. There are still tons of problems to solve. In our, even our own space, you probably can say you still have two, three big players comfortably, and there will still be more to go around.
Well, I mean, let's figure out how do we help more people pursue scalable ventures? Because I think, to your point, you can try to start small and do small, but what you're doing is a big deal, right? Like, it has the potential to scale, and that's the mindset that we want to encourage people to have. And um, whether that's self-study or mentorship, we have a lot of tools to connect people around the world. So you tell me if I can help. I will try to help, because I
Yeah.
see a lot of ambitious, smart people that are coming out of there, and they're personable, right? Like, they've got skills that are going to translate around the world. And if the biggest problems are in your own country, then if it's just a matter of giving a framework and then figuring out how to get access to capital, it's a small problem,
I think the
Maybe.
we've touched on the number one way to solve this problem. Uh, One of it is community,
Right.
really.
Totally. Agreed.
Once I think the vast majority of Nigerians don't have access to that community. We are probably one of the lucky few that have such access now. They probably don't. Not everyone is going to be able to get their startup to the point where YC is interested.
Totally.
Uh, there has to still be a solution for those that need help to get to that stage where a kind of a YC needs that help. So I see the first summary will be the first thing is creation of a community where people can come and learn entrepreneurship, at least learn and understand the rudiments of building a startup. From there, I guess their intelligence takes up. From there, they figure their way out.
Yep, that makes sense.
The
Well,
path for everyone is not the same, right?
so if you ever have someone like that,
Mhm.
let us know. We have a Y Combinator has, first of all, startup school, which is really, really valuable. And I think a lot of people have kind of gone through that self-study experience and tried to do their own accelerator. We have an accelerator framework and model. We've been asked many times to do an accelerator. I'm sure at some time we will break down and do one. But someone can access through founderspack.io the methodology, which says, don't do a business plan, do a 2-day startup where you put together a team, you can pitch your idea, You rapidly prototype and go talk to real customers and investors. And then you decide after 2 days, is it worth a 6-week accelerator? And I think that's accessible to anyone.
Yep, yep.
So at least it's a bit of a framework and it's action oriented. And we teach you how to go find the people you say are your customers, go talk to them, gather feedback, get a nominal amount of money. And I think that's something that if someone at least follows that framework, would, they can be successful because it's consistent with probably what you've done as your startup. So if that's a resource that's helpful, then let me know. I'm always happy to plug people in and walk them through it. I do want to be respectful of your time. I know you're super busy. You're going back to Nigeria next week too, right?
Yes, I'll be going back to Nigeria.
Still in hybrid. All right, so we'll wrap with a couple quick things. One is if you could offer other founders anywhere in the world or maybe at home one piece of advice and only one piece of advice, what would that be?
Oof. Okay. I'm trying to see because there are several ideas. There are several advice rather, that I think I can come up with. But the one that resonates with me right now, sitting at this moment, would be looking back. Don't wait too long on an idea that is not working. Don't fall in love with it. I right now I think I pretty much decide in 3 to 6 months if the idea is worth pursuing. Don't stay too long writing it on the paper. Get out there, get your first customer paying. If the customer is paying, how many of them can you get? Is the market that huge? Is it worth pursuing? If it is, go all in. If not, move on to the next thing. There are problems to be solved.
I love it. That is right up our ethos. I want to thank you so much for spending time with me. I know it was kind of like very short notice. We said, let's get together. So this is exciting for me. We're going to wrap with a couple quick things. How do people get in touch with you and who is a good connection for you?
I think the easiest way to get in touch with me will be via email or LinkedIn. I kind of stay my LinkedIn gives notification, so I will check.
Okay, that's how we connected actually. So
and somehow on LinkedIn, it's not as plugged up as other social media.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, it's not as plugged up. Yeah. Good point. I will make sure that we include that information in the show notes. All right. So the final thing is when we have interesting people on the Founders Pack Form Your Own Pack podcast, we like you to nominate another interesting person who is either a founder or investor that you can introduce us to. It could be someone we love talking to Y Combinator people, or if you have someone else in mind, that would be great. But who would you like to nominate as a future guest of the Form Your Own Pack podcast?
Okay, let me see. I'll probably say the co-founder of Remedial Health. I can send you his details. I think it was in Y Combinator Winter Batch 2022.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And which company was that?
Remedial Health.
Remedial Health. Okay, terrific. Do you remember his name or?
We'll have to check his name. He's my friend.
We'll double check.
His name skipped my mind.
That's okay. I wasn't sure. It's funny. Someone else nominated someone from Metroport, and I was like, "Oh, we know Colin," but that's great. This sounds like a totally different person, so we will accept that nomination. We'll follow up. Thank you so much for your time today. We look forward to following your journey.
Thank you.